Hey YouTube, what's up? Thanks for watching Ruiners. I'm your host Rob Nomson here with Eric.
Hello.
And today's Ruiners episode 12. We established that
Yes.
off air, so that was good. So today, another bit of a different episode. We're really going to be dissecting this movie bracket that we've been doing on DigitalBomb.net and the Facebook page where you guys can vote. So if you haven't voted yet, go now. The new polls are most likely up by the time you guys get there.
Yep.
If not, they'll be up later Wednesday, but you guys can vote for the final matchup. But Eric and I are going to get into some surprises, upsets, things we wish would have happened that didn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, this has been a really great bracket. This is our first movie bracket.
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, it's been going now for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And so it's like, will this ever end? But it's been fun, you know, and the fans have really gotten into it.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for those who have voted, and it's been fun just chatting about it. But we just wanted to kind of look at these brackets and just, I don't know, just kind of chat it up a little bit. So head over, if you haven't gone already, go over to either the Facebook page or the website, and you can follow along a little bit with the brackets. But really, the first question I have for you is, what are the biggest surprises about the movie brackets, even if it's just like individual brackets, whatever?
I think the biggest surprise for me was, and I'm going to pull it up just so I can be 100% sure, but was the Bourne Ultimatum didn't make it past the first week. And that was Mike's number one seed. So I was like, I mean, I like the Bourne Ultimatum, but it did go up against, I mean, and Iron Man was his 16th seed.
Yeah.
So it was a little, it was a big matchup, but just in terms of like number 1 to number 16, I was like very surprised by that.
That was it, yeah, and I think it got stomped pretty good.
I'm pretty sure it did.
And
I don't know, remember for sure, but
I mean, if you look at the movies that did go on, the other matchups, I mean, it could have beaten that movie could have beaten, you know, probably 5 or 6 other movies if the matchups would have been.
Yeah, I think if it went on, and even if it went on the way it did and beat Iron Man to go up against Zombieland, that would have been still another really good, tough decision to make. Not only for me, but I think for a lot of people.
Sure, because Zombieland, it's like an acquired taste. It's like a specialty movie. But Iron Man, you know, being his number 16 seed, we kind of busted his chops about it being number 16, but it went on pretty good. That was like the, I don't know, kind of the sleeper of it all. But staying in that same bracket, I was actually really surprised that you know, his number 2 movie was Wreck-It Ralph, but it came against the Avengers in the second round.
Yeah, and
the Avengers just crushed it. In fact, the Avengers was his strongest movie and made it all the way to the final 4.
Yeah, and I was fighting for Wreck-It Ralph. I remember that, and I was like, people, come on. Like, my personal opinion was Wreck-It Ralph was a 10 out of 10. And then what was I giving Avengers? 5 out of 10?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't care much for Avengers. I liked it, but it was just like, it didn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
But nobody agreed with me. I think it was me and like 2 other guys that had voted for Wreck-It Ralph. So that was probably my biggest upset, because I just thought, I always think in terms of like the quality, and I really look into like, you know, behind the scenes stuff, and so I guess not everyone does, but that was one of my biggest upsets, other than Bourne Ultimatum. A
lot of people just looking at the surface of it all.
They just judge that book by its cover.
Yeah, and really just kind of finish out that bracket. Inglourious Bastards actually went further than I thought. It beat both X-Men First Class and Star Trek.
Which I thought. I had a feeling it was going to be X-Men First Class, to be honest, but the fact that it beat Star Trek, I was very surprised. Yeah. And I actually thought it was going to move on past that again.
Past the Avengers?
Well, I thought it was going to, just based on the fact that it was just ultimately a better movie.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, that's just my personal opinion.
The way that it's funny, because we have to always remember the reason that these movies have gone on is because the fans voted. Yeah, definitely. If it was us voting for these, you know,
we'd just be arguing for an hour and a half on a podcast.
So anyways, I thought I was happy about that. It was cool to see that, because it just looks like people really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah.
But anyways,
what were some surprises that you wanted to mention?
Well, let's just go to my bracket, because it's, you know, my bracket.
I'm there, you're there.
Near and dear. I was really surprised that my number 1 seed got beat by Back to the Future. Die Hard.
Yeah.
And I guess it just has to do with the iconic nature of Back to the Future.
Yep.
We talked last week on the podcast how if you were to look at just the 80s decade, Back to the Future is a movie that is set in the 80s.
Yep.
But Die Hard, you can put that same movie, the same exact movie, and the only thing that you would need to really change to take it out of the 80s is some of the songs that were in it.
And some hairstyles.
And some hairstyles. But even then,
Yeah.
And of course, dude snorting cocaine, off the table.
Yeah.
Not like cocaine. But that Die Hard's more of a timeless movie, more of a timeless action movie. But people love Die Hard, but I guess people just really love Back to the Future.
I think a lot of people, even me included, I don't exactly remember what I voted for, but I think they really connected more with Back to the Future than Die Hard.
Yeah.
Because I was definitely watching Back to the Future way before I was watching Die Hard. So
sure. And so that to me is probably the biggest surprise is how far and how strong Back to the Future was. Yeah. I mean, for me it was my number 6 seed, and I mean it just went all the way, and that's really in my bracket. That's the biggest thing. Everything else is a bit kind of played to the deal. My second favorite movie, Aliens, got beat in the second round.
Yep.
By Top Gun. So not too. It's funny because we ranked them according to what we.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, but anyways, going to the 90s, a little bit more. There was a little more surprising.
Yeah, and the matchups in the 90s bracket were so opposite. I mean, you had Jurassic Park. This is the first week. Jurassic Park, Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
Silence of the Lambs, Toy Story, Reservoir Dogs, Happy Gilmore. So it was like polar opposites.
Yeah.
As far as the movies go.
Sure.
So that made it a little hard to vote for.
Yeah.
And I know in the beginning I was basically voting off of solely what I would watch at that moment.
Yeah.
So a lot of the comedies went on, even though I pretty much love every movie off this bracket.
Yeah.
It was definitely a hard one, though.
It was. We all did really well in picking our brackets out. I was actually kind of surprised that Jurassic Park got beat by Toy Story.
Yeah.
I mean, and if I remember right, I think it got I don't think it was that close.
No, I think it was a pretty big gap, but
yeah.
I think that also goes back to the same thing with Back to the Future is a lot more of the people that I think were voting were of a younger age, and maybe Toy Story was maybe one of their first real cinema experiences.
Sure, resonates with them more.
Because when I think of Jurassic Park, I remember seeing it in the theater, and I remember being scared.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to pee my pants.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Maybe you did.
Maybe I am right now. I don't know.
So but I was also surprised that Happy Gilmore made it to the. I guess that's a Sweet 16. Man.
Yeah,
it beat Reservoir Dogs, which I can see that. Reservoir Dogs is an acquired taste, kind of like
very. If you like F words and
all
people get set on fire.
Ears getting cut off.
Yep.
But it also beat Home Alone, which talk about a movie that people really connect.
Yeah. I mean, I think I told this on the DigitalCast, but Home Alone for me, I wanted my brothers to call me Kevin. That's how much I watched Home Alone. I was and as weird as that is, I really did. So crazy.
So let's get to your bracket and let's just talk real quickly. I'm gonna sneeze. I gotta sneeze right here.
You feel it?
So go ahead. Let's see if I can avoid it.
So my bracket, there was a couple upsets on my bracket for me. I'm very excited that Batman Begins has made it all the way to the end. My number 1 seed, and then The Incredibles made it really far as well. So those were my number 2 was, where is it? I'll find it. Kill Bill Volume 2.
Yeah.
Which didn't make it very far. But Incredibles, which is one of my favorite movies and my favorite Pixar movie, did make it very far, and I really enjoyed watching it just crush the competition.
Yeah, exactly. It was really that kind of played it out. Really, the biggest upset in your first round was Ocean's 11 beat Catch Me If You Can, but
yeah,
I don't know if Ocean's 11 it's more fun, more.
Yeah, and it also brings a point that I was going to bring up. I mean, this goes for all the brackets, especially yours, because I feel like a lot of people might not have seen yours. But I had a lot of almost obscure movies like Blow and Catch Me If You Can that weren't necessarily very popular. And I think maybe they were voted against because people just hadn't seen them.
Okay.
Which, if that's true, watch these movies because Blow and Catch Me If You Can are just so good. Both of them are
very good. Yeah,
are
they're both
really
very good.
But yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you. I actually didn't even write this down. There were on the podcast. We actually gave each other a lot of grief when we first seeded our bracket about movies that didn't make it in.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. I can only remember just a couple of movies that didn't. I know that you guys gave me hell for not having E.T. in there.
Yes.
Do you think? How far do you think E.T. would have gone? Okay, well, let me ask you this. That's hard. That's hard.
Okay.
That's hard to answer. If which is a better movie, Die Hard or E.T.?
I would vote for E.T.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah.
Ferris Bueller or E.T.?
Ferris Bueller.
Okay. Top Gun or E.T.?
E.T.
Okay, and then this is the big one, Back to the Future, which is the one that went on. Back to the Future or E.T.?
That's a really hard one for me. If I think back just strictly to my childhood, I'd have to pick E.T.
Okay.
Because it was very like coming of age, finding who you are.
Yeah.
You got the alien, you got all this stuff, and I don't know, for some reason I connected to it. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
But
it was just really kind of a funny thing because you think about the ones that we didn't put in for whatever reason, and it's just because E.T. was on my list.
Yeah.
This is not one of the top 16 movies that I like from the 80s.
yeah,
Sorry.
it's all good. It's your bracket.
That's right. So, what about the 90s? I'm just trying to think.
I'm trying to think.
Like, oh, you know what? One of the movies that he didn't have was Goodfellas.
Oh, that's true. But I think it came out that he hadn't even seen it, right?
Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe it did.
But how far do you think Goodfellas would have gone? Goodfellas is arguably, the last great gangster Italian mafia movie. I think the last great mafia movie or gangster movie was The Departed.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think depending on how many people have seen it, I think that would have gone further. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I'm just trying to think of movies that people have seen a lot on cable, because that's a lot of those 90s movies are on cable.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
There was a few on mine that didn't make it. Bandits. I know I said Bandits. You guys were like, what?
Yeah.
But which probably wouldn't have made it far. Basic was another John Travolta, which was a great movie.
It's a great movie.
One of your favorites, Big Fish.
I just,
honest to God, almost just cried.
I just watched it again on Saturday.
Did you cry?
I was very close.
Oh, wow.
It was really funny. I hadn't seen it in a while, and I watched again, and I was right there. The movie goes to the end, and I go, woo! Yes! And
Take a breath.
My wife's like, she's got little tears in her eyes, but she goes, you didn't cry? And I'm like, no, but I'm trying to push it all down. Yeah, Big Fish. That was good.
I'm just looking over this list real quick, and I don't know if I've ever thought your opinion on this movie. I don't think it wouldn't have made my bracket, but did you like the first? No, not the first. I guess technically the second Punisher installment with what's his face?
Thomas Jane.
Yeah.
I did, and John Travolta was just so over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was good.
Yeah, I liked it for what it was, and then
it was good.
Okay. I just saw it and was like, whoa, I got to ask. Wait a minute.
Well, let me ask. Okay, so let's go to Mike's bracket with the 2007 to present. The one that I really thought, and I think he just kind of forgot about putting in was Inception.
Yeah.
I wonder how far Inception would have gone.
I think it would have gone pretty far. That was right in the Christopher Nolan hype. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It was still a huge hype, but that was right after Dark Knight.
Yeah.
A lot of media surrounding Chris Nolan, and then Inception comes out and just mind rapes everybody.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think it would have went far. I mean, I'm looking at Mike's bracket, and I don't necessarily see a movie that I would have voted over Inception. Less than Glorious Bastards came up against it, or you know what I mean? I would have voted Inception over Dark Knight Rises, and you know how big of a Batman fan I am.
Yeah. I don't know if for me, and I know this is, now we're just kind of, it's just all this. If I filled out that bracket, if that was my bracket, I think Inception would probably be number one.
for that year
for that 2007 to present.
Yeah,
that would
definitely
be my number one, maybe number two. I'd have to look at all the movies from that era, but I mean, yeah, it really is. It's just about that. And I know that we've talked about doing this again and switching up the decades and all that stuff. But okay, so what do you think? Are you surprised by the final matchup? By the time this comes out, we'll have it on the Facebook to vote. The final matchup, the championship.
The championship match
is Back to the Future versus Braveheart.
Yeah.
And Back to the Future, it kind of squeaked by.
It did.
You know, and you know, if you want to hear more about this, and we're actually going to debate these two movies on the podcast and give our prediction of which one we think is going to win.
Yeah.
But it kind of squeaked by. The Braveheart destroyed the Avengers,
which was crazy to me.
Yeah, and
because what the Avengers had done in the past to pretty much every movie it went up against was
killed them. And Back to the Future went up against Batman Begins.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, I actually voted for Batman Begins.
As did I.
And so,
and it only beat Batman Begins by 2, I believe, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
By 2 or 3 or something.
By the time
like
we get to the podcast, I'm sure it'll be 2 or 3. Yeah. So
yeah.
It's really. I'm surprised by it.
Yeah.
So,
but you made it. Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm not too surprised I am surprised at the Avengers Braveheart. I know there's a lot of really loyal Braveheart fans out there that love the movie. I mean, that's Jamie's number one movie
of his life,
of his entire life.
Yeah.
So he's going to be excited to see that that's moved forward.
Yeah.
And because he doesn't know yet, which is funny. But as far as Back to the Future Batman Begins goes, I really thought Batman Begins was going to pull it off.
Yeah.
And it was tied just up until a few hours ago. We're recording this on Tuesday, but we got some posts out there and more people came and voted. But so screw you guys for kicking me out, but you kept Eric in, so that's good.
Yeah, good job, thank you.
But
do you think and going just a little bit backwards? I mean, we talked about movies that didn't make it, and in the bracket. And Mike kind of misunderstood what we were talking about in terms of putting movies in. He put Dark Knight Rises in, but he didn't put The Dark Knight in. Do you think if it went up against Dark Knight, that Back to the Future would have won?
Instead of Batman Begins?
Yes. And I don't. It wouldn't have worked out that way.
No, I know.
But
I think if it went up against if it was Back to the Future Dark Knight, I don't think it would have.
Yeah,
it would have taken the cake.
Yeah, it's just us talking about it.
Yeah,
neither here nor there now, but
doesn't matter. Yeah, it's all in the past.
I'm surprised by it. I'm not surprised that Braveheart went on because, like you said, they loyal fans of Braveheart, man.
Yep.
But I am, goes back to the whole to the bracket, the '80s bracket. I thought Die Hard was going to beat Back to the Future.
Yeah.
So to see Back to the Future make it all the way, even past Batman Begins, that's pretty surprising. So, but we'll make our prediction on the podcast, and
definitely. So tune into DigitalCast. New episode will be up Wednesday night. So if you're watching this Wednesday morning, it'll be up Wednesday evening-ish. It's because for our predictions, we're really going to get into what we think who's going to win and everything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty good. That's a good bracket.
Rocking.
I love it.
Love it.
YouTube, thanks for watching. Check out our other episodes of Ruiners. Also coming up very soon, our very first comedy web series, Bad Esteban. More info for you. More info for you on this week's episode of DigitalCast as well. That's going to be coming your way. So thanks for watching. Again, I'm Rob Nom. I'm sitting here with Eric Leach.
Right on.
And until next time, ruin someone's life.